Hey Pit family, it's me, the Pit Papa. So remember in this video, when I said this, I'm thinking smoked meatloaf. I guess I better do that, huh? Let's get started. Okay, Pit family, everything we need is right here on the counter. I will have a link to all the ingredients down in the description, and let's get rolling with this meatloaf. All right, first up is 3 medium carrots. You're gonna get these peeled and then grated. Don't be a prideful moron like me and try and grate them by hand. Just use a food processor. Now, while on-screen me wraps that up, I do cook videos just like this every week on this channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe consider doing so. It really helps me out. It's totally free to you, and you're gonna see some awesome cooks each week. Carrots done, time to move on to the garlic. We're mincing up 4 cloves. At some point, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt on this board and give my knife a little scrape. That's just to paste down a little of it, using the salt as an abrasive. But I'm not doing all of it. I like the textural contrast of some of the garlic paste and some little garlic chunks, but it's up to you. You could totally use a garlic press here if you wanted to. Onion next, and to be specific, a large white onion. I'm going to do a rough chop on this bad boy because, as with the garlic, I enjoy the textural contrast that comes out in my finished meatloaf. But if you want to do a nice uniform dice on it instead, go for it. It's one of the beauties of meatloaf. It's an intensely personal thing, ranging from ingredients all the way down to preferred texture. All right, everybody's going in this pool, but there is a method to the madness. First things first, we gotta lube it up. 1 tablespoon of olive oil in the pan, swirl it around and get it nice and hot, and then we'll bring in our first contestant. We're putting these in order according to how long it will take to gently break them down. Remember, this is a sweat, this isn't a saute. We're not looking to brown, we're just looking to gently release those aromatic qualities. So, onions are up first because they'll take the longest. All right, it's been 2 minutes since I put these onions in, and it's time to add the carrots. And yes, I know I should have used a bigger pan, but what are you gonna do? Now you notice, I keep these moving pretty much constantly. I really don't want them to brown. I just want to sweat out a little bit of their moisture and get those aromatic qualities released so that they hit their utmost potential in this meatloaf. 2 minutes have passed, clear my well in the center, and in comes the garlic, and it's gonna go really, really quick. So pay attention and keep things moving. 60 seconds is all this is gonna take, so we're gonna kill the heat, move it off the burner, and let it cool down while we go prepare a recipient for this payload. The foundation of this meatloaf is 3 parts. It's a panade, ground pork, and ground beef. In order to make the panade, we're combining 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs with 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. But why the panade? Well, it's a little bit sciencey, but when the liquid of the buttermilk combines with the panko breadcrumbs, it'll create this starchy paste. That paste is going to coat the proteins from our ground pork and our ground beef. This paste sets into kind of a gel when it cooks, and that prevents the proteins from linking so tightly together that they squeeze all the moisture out. That moisture would just burn away in our smoker. Instead, now it's locked into our meatloaf, and we get an incredibly juicy product in the end. 1 pound each of ground pork and 80-20 ground beef. You're gonna get it in the bowl and mix it together with that panade, being careful to integrate it all but not overwork it. You don't wanna make this meatloaf tough. Now, 2 beaten eggs to act as a binder, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, and 1/3 a cup of Pit Papa steak seasoning, which of course I'll link the recipe to down in the description. Just a quick, gentle mix by hand to get those spices worked through the meat. And then it's time to add our aromatic vegetable payload. Okay, everybody in the pool, remember, this is still warm, but it's not blazing hot. We've let it cool down. We're gonna mix it all through, being very careful, however, not to overwork this. Again, we're after meatloaf, not meat brick. Now, another Pit Papa textural choice here. I'm going to add another 1/2 cup of panko breadcrumbs because I like the textural component that it adds to the meatloaf beyond just what the panade does. Last batch of panko is mixed in and it's time to shape our loaf. As you can see, I'm using a special grill pan here, which has slits in the bottom that allow for more smoke penetration. You don't have to though. You can totally just use like an old cookie sheet, or even just double, triple fold a piece of foil that you can lay it out on and kind of tent the sides. As long as the top and the sides of this meatloaf are exposed to absorb smoke, you're good. Bring this outside to the Oklahoma Joe Longhorn 3-in-1, where I've already got a fire rolling with charcoal and hickory wood chunks to generate some smoke. We're cooking this meatloaf at a temperature between 225 and 250. Now, as you'll see in the video, I will insert a meat probe thermometer into the meatloaf at the thickest point. This will let me keep track of the internal temperature on the meatloaf at all times. That way, I can know when I need to come glaze it, and I'll know exactly when it's done. Now for outdoor cooking, probe thermometers fall into my category of mandatory equipment, so if you'd like, I can do a video on the one that I use. Leave a comment down below if that's something you'd like to see. I screwed up the initial probe placement, so I've had to adjust it as you can see here, but I also moved the position of my meatloaf. It was incredibly windy the day I did this cook, and it was screwing with the temperature, and so I wanted to adjust where my meatloaf was so I got the most consistent cook. Due to the wind, my smoker floats between 235 and 250 for a majority of this cook, so I set an alert on my probe thermometer to let me know when the internal temperature is 165 so I can get my glaze. Now, we're using the Pit Papa barbecue sauce from the last video. There's a tag right here to go find that recipe, and we're going to glaze this down from 165, and then we're going to do something really special. I like my meatloaf to come out around 170, so I've got my glaze on that's got another 5-6 degrees to go before it's ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some applewood chips to what's left of my fire, and that'll bring the temperature up just slightly, but this will put a nice fruity apple smoke on that incredibly sticky glaze, and that will give us a brand new dimension of flavor. Here we go, my probe thermometer alarm has gone off in the house, letting me know that the meatloaf has reached my desired 170 degree temperature, so I'm on my way out to take it off. Just look at that beauty. It's perfectly cooked. It has that wonderfully sticky, sweet, slightly spicy glaze with the hint of apple smoke to it. Oh, it's gonna be so delicious. But first, we have to let this rest for 10 minutes so everything firms up and we get that beautiful meatloaf texture that we're looking for. 10-minute rest period is finally over. We can slice into this. Oh, look at that. Perfectly cooked, beautiful smoke ring around the outside. This is going to be delicious. Let me give it a try. Yeah, that'll do. Nice textural differences with the vegetables and the meat. It's held well together, nice and juicy. That's great. There it is, Pit family. Smoked meatloaf. A super simple recipe with an amazingly delicious endgame. Shared some with that next door neighbor right there, and he can tell you it's the best meatloaf he's ever had. And my wife and I happen to agree. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please do all the YouTube things. Leave a like on it. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It is free and it really, really, really helps us out. And in addition, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you thought of the recipe. Tell me if you're going to try it yourself, or if you'd add anything like jalapenos maybe, or maybe some cheese. I know people put that in their meatloaf. Let me know what you're going to do with it. And as always, though, thanks for watching. I have been the Pit Papa, and I'll see you outside.